With Fernando Alonso's victory in the 2018 24 Hours of Le Mans, he is now two-thirds of the way to motorsport's version of the Triple Crown. The Triple Crown, of course, containing the three greatest accomplishments a racing driver can accomplish in his or her career. A victory in the Indianapolis 500, a victory overall at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and either a victory at the Monaco Grand Prix or a victory in the Formula One World Championship. Now, why this is so important to motor racing as a whole, we will discuss in this video. And perhaps one of the biggest reasons is the fact that only one man has achieved this in the entire history of motor racing. Graham Hill, a five-time Monaco Grand Prix winner, a two-time Formula One World Champion, the winner of the 1966 Indianapolis 500 in a Lola Ford, and the 1972 24 Hours of Le Mans in a Matra. Now, there are many other drivers who have come close but failed to achieve the Triple Crown. Perhaps the most famous example is Mario Andretti, who won the 1978 Formula One World Championship and the 1969 Indianapolis 500. But at Le Mans, the best Mario could do was second place, which he achieved in 1995 driving a Porsche-powered Courage. Ironically enough, Mario's failure to win the Triple Crown actually paved the way for a manufacturer, as it was McLaren with their F1 GT1 car taking the overall victory. McLaren had previously won the Formula One World Constructors' Championship in 1974 and the Indianapolis 500 first in 1972. McLaren is not the only manufacturer to win the Triple Crown of motorsport. Two others have achieved this as well. Those being Ford, who won both the Monaco Grand Prix and the Formula One World Constructors' Championship for the first time in 1968, Le Mans with a dominant three-car victory in 1966, and the Indianapolis 500 with Jim Clark in 1965. And Mercedes, who conquered Indianapolis as far back as 1915 with driver Ralph De Palma driving his Mercedes into victory lane. Mercedes conquered Le Mans in 1989 with the help of the Sauber team. And Mercedes took their first Formula One World Championship with the help of McLaren in 1998. So why has such an accomplishment been so downplayed for so long and is just now gaining traction? Well, I present to you the era of specialization that we've been living in. One-trick ponies rule the roost, and in the last 20 years or so, the best drivers generally stayed within their comfort zones, the series where they could rack up many wins and many championships. The drivers, for the most part, could pull this off because paydays were so good. Both Formula One and NASCAR style of racing boomed in the late 90s. Huge $100 million paychecks at the top level de-incentivized drivers such as Michael Schumacher or Jeff Gordon from diversifying their racing portfolio. It simply wasn't worth the risk. But as motorsport as a whole has begun to shrink and become more of a niche in the internet age where entertainment options are much more available to the general masses, racing drivers are no longer the megastars that they used to be. With this in mind, how does one grow the sport in this era? Quite simply, you shake up the convention. And that's exactly what, unintentionally or intentionally, both Fernando Alonso and McLaren did when they raced the 2017 Indianapolis 500 instead of the 2017 Monaco Grand Prix. The fact that a current era F1 driver was willing to buck convention in the pursuit of racing immortality was something that stirred up the motorsport press to such a degree. Alonso's 2017 Indy 500 may go down as one of the best PR moves in the history of the sport. In doing so, Alonso cemented his legend in the motorsport lore, and that was before Le Mans of this year. He helped bring the Indianapolis 500 back to the international prominence it had lacked since the infamous split in 1995. And by coming to Le Mans this year, he elevated what would otherwise have been deemed an event with one of the weakest grids that had ever been seen at the 24 Hours from that negative headline to one of excitement and later jubilation when he took his victory with Toyota. And therein lies the ultimate point, the ultimate reason why the Triple Crown and the drivers pursuing it are so very important to the changing landscape of motorsports. When motorsport boomed in the late 1960s, it was when the drivers, the stars, the cars, the teams were at their most diverse. On any given weekend, you could see A.J. Foyt driving a sports car, Cale Yarborough or Jim Clark driving Indy cars, or Mario Andretti on the short tracks of the United States, slinging dirt. The diverse heroics of the men behind the wheel helped elevate motorsport into one of the most popular sports in the world. International fame and fortune soon followed, and by the 1980s and the 1990s, the multi-million-dollar budgets generated created some of the most legendary and memorable racing cars that have ever been seen. Fernando Alonso has helped set the tone for the coming years in motorsports, and it's a very positive one. To set yourself apart from the rest and be considered one of the best, a driver will have to conquer more than just his preferred form of motorsport. And while certainly a driver like Lewis Hamilton or Sebastian Vettel will always have more Formula One championships than Fernando Alonso, history will likely look at Alonso as the better driver, because not only was he willing to step outside his comfort zone and try something new, but he succeeded when he did. And it's not just Alonso either who have a chance of achieving the Triple Crown. Heck, there was one at Le Mans this year. Juan Pablo Montoya, who won the Indianapolis 500 in 2000 and the Monaco Grand Prix in 2003, meaning he only needs the 24 hours of Le Mans to complete the Triple Crown. And there are a few other drivers who are a little further off. Nico Hülkenberg hasn't quite had the success in Formula One, but he does already have the 24 hours of Le Mans on his mantle. So should he win at Monaco or win the championship overall, he would only need the Indianapolis 500 to achieve the Triple Crown. And what's to say a younger driver like a Max Verstappen or an Alexander Rossi couldn't go overseas one way or the other and try to accomplish each other's form of motorsport? Rossi already has an Indianapolis 500 win, and surely the World Championship is coming for Max Verstappen. And what about some of the older drivers? Could they potentially achieve a Triple Crown? Jenson Button, the 2009 Formula One champion, was at Le Mans this year in the top class going for the overall win. With Ford looking to move up to the top class at Le Mans in the next few years, there's potential for Scott Dixon or Tony Kanaan, who are previous Indianapolis 500 champions, to possibly get a Le Mans win. Now, would it be possible for them to get into a Mercedes, Red Bull, or Ferrari to race and win at Monaco and also skip the Indy 500 at the same time? Unlikely. But then again, if you told me that Alonso 5 years ago would run the Indianapolis 500 and skip the Monaco Grand Prix in the process, I would have told you you were crazy. There's a lot of potential and possibilities that exist out there with the Triple Crown. The hype created from such an accomplishment or the pursuit of it will create the megastars, the A.J. Foyts, the Jim Clarks, the Mario Andrettis of the future. We found our first, and his name is Fernando Alonso. And when he runs Indianapolis next year with what is expected to be a revitalization of his McLaren Honda Andretti team from 2017, he will bring some of that legendary status, some of that legendary hype that was lost in years past to the future. And while that hype train and hype machine may get annoying from time to time, this is a very exciting era of motorsport to be living in. Appreciate it and enjoy it. So thank you guys so much for watching this. I hope you've enjoyed it, a little bit of an editorial, a little bit of a perspective. If you did, hit the like on it and subscribe for more motorsport, Le Mans, IndyCar, Triple Crown coverage. I guess we'll say that too. And we'll see you in the next video.